Tech in fighting games has always been my thing. If you scroll back to when I started this channel, I was predominantly making videos to explain setups, option selects, and everything in between. I still do it to this day because I find the discovery process and documenting process incredibly rewarding. There are different levels to how complex tech can be. On one end you have the sort of stuff SKD posts on Twitter where you just quietly nod your head in approval and retweet it despite not having a clue what's going on. Then you have the more common mid-level stuff. The things that became very normalized in Street Fighter 4's lifespan. Safe jumps, backdash option selects, and meaty setups. Although most of these ideas translate very directly to old games, their use was nowhere near as widespread by the average player at the time. This is for a couple of reasons. Firstly, the lack of social media. The immediate ease of capturing footage and sharing it publicly now has rapidly accelerated the learning process in the last decade. It's not as if sites for sharing fighting game content didn't exist. I mean, I learned Street Fighter 2 through the SRK wiki and various threads, but it was still very difficult. This was not helped by how limited the training tools were at the time. Some console versions of the game had training mode in them, but things like the record function was not common, and more often than not the console port had massive differences to the arcade version anyway. So for the most part, if you wanted to learn something, you were doing it in a match. You can figure out and practice everything versus someone. It just takes longer and requires a particular understanding of the game. This, for me at least, gave a bigger sense of grandeur to some of the simpler pieces of tech when I was learning fighters. The stuff where when you hear the explanation, you can immediately incorporate it into your game plan. The first piece of tech that I was able to understand that just launched me into this obsessive process of meticulously documenting and deconstructing forevermore was the fireball trap in Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. This simple idea sparked an everlasting appreciation for the minutiae of fighting games, and although that's not for everyone, for me it was everything. So what is an ST fireball trap? There are lots of versions and a few different understandings of what the title fireball trap is in reference to, but I'm going to narrow it down to one specific use case. A fireball trap is when a Shoto has an opponent in the corner and it's stood about half screen away. When you throw a light fireball at this range and the opponent blocks it, they cannot jump if you throw a fierce fireball directly after. It's a frame trap. Why is this interesting? Well, old Street Fighter, unlike the new versions, for the most part does not have special moves that just go straight through a fireball and punish you. The majority of characters are looking to jump over them, which is hard because fireballs don't have an obscene amount of recovery to them in this game. On top of that, jump attacks don't have a lot of hit stun, so even if you are successful, you might not get a combo, drastically altering the risk reward. Well, surely if the opponent knows this is a frame trap, they can block both fireballs and work their way out, because after the heavy fireball, they can jump if you throw another one as a read. But the problem is, you could just throw another jab fireball instead, and they're back in the same situation. Like all good tech, it doesn't just end with how these two moves interact. The mind games expand the more both players know. If they're aware of the fact they can jump after a heavy fireball to punish you when you throw another one, you can just not do it and instead anti-air. Then suddenly they're back in the same situation. Then when they know you're looking for that, you instead just throw another light fireball. This little interaction with the two strengths of one special move can immediately explain to a new player the ideas of conditioning, frame data, and just the simple importance of understanding specific situations that aren't just, I got a knockdown, are they gonna reversal? It's obnoxious, it's frustrating, it's just such a complete package of everything fun to me in this genre. You don't win immediately, it's not a 50-50 into a touch of death. It's a slow decay of the opponent's life bar and their mental fortitude. I even love how when people try and work around this tech, using things like DP and neutral jumps, it's not to punish but to disrupt the timing and the sequence itself. It's a battle of inches. It's very easy when you're a new player to get trapped in a world of very complex pieces of tech that are being thrown around on Discord and Twitter, and sometimes it can leave you feeling like you need to know all of it but have no idea where to start. Don't get me wrong, people can jump in right at the deep end, maybe you're just built like that, but sometimes it's just the small things like a fireball trap that get a player invested, and that was certainly the case for me.